This is talkSPORT MMA, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Jake Hadley. Fight week is upon us. How's everything going your side?
Yeah, everything's going good. All going well. I feel fit. I feel ready to go.
I was looking at your socials earlier today, and there's a post from about a week ago. You look absolutely ripped to shreds, so I'm assuming that training's gone well so far.
Yeah. I'm in great shape, as everyone can already see on the internet. I'm in amazing shape, ready to kill.
Brilliant. And coming off a loss, what does that do for you going into a training camp? Obviously, you had such a great run outside the UFC, and it's been back and forth so far in the octagon. So when you're taking things like these, does anything change in camp? And how do you approach a fight after a loss?
Yeah, but I'm always trying to evolve my game. I've started adding new things into my game, new coaching stuff. Just always trying to get better. Obviously, it gives me more motivation. Um, you know, um, more motivation to work hard and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm on the get back tour now, so um, I'm ready.
Brilliant. And is there anything in particular that you found difficult moving into the UFC? As I said, you were so brilliant outside the UFC. Is there a step up in level? Is it the bright lights? Is there anything that you are just getting used to as a young fighter coming through the ranks?
No, not really. I think I'm fighting the same caliber of opponents I was fighting on Cage Warriors and EFC and Bellator, and that. It's just I've had a bit of unluckiness. I think I fought probably the hardest guy in the whole division in Alan Nascimento, who no one really knows is the hardest in division because he never fights because he cuts so much weight. Um, he only fights once a year, and he's only fought once since he fought me. But I think he's probably the hardest fight in the division you know. Um, and then my last fight against Cody Durden, I don't want to make no excuses, but there was injuries going into the fight, and then opponent change, a complete game plan change, um, and a hard weight cut, which I feel like it affected my performance in the fight. Um, so yeah, I think there was a few things leading up to that fight which cost me, and a few things in my training camp what cost me in that fight. It's little margins at this level, you know what I mean? So it is how it is.
Yeah, and obviously they are all good learning experiences. Will stand you in good stead. Obviously, you don't want the losses on your record, but it's good moving forward. And this week you have got Charles Johnson. You travelled over to Missouri for that one. Probably not a place that was on your hit list in terms of holiday destinations. How have you found it so far?
You know what? Considering it's like the murder capital of the USA, I mean, it seems quite nice actually. I mean, I've enjoyed my time round St. Louis. I mean, I've been here a few days, and I've enjoyed my time around here. It's been nice. Obviously, St. Louis weren't a place I was thinking, oh, I want to fight one day in St. Louis. I've never even heard of it till now. Um, but it's a good experience traveling the world and fighting all around the world. Um, obviously, I'd rather be fighting in my backyard. Which I never get to fight there. But this opportunity come up and I couldn't, and I had to take it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And talk to us a bit about your opponent, Charles Johnson. For anyone watching this on YouTube, hasn't seen him fight before, what should we expect?
Yeah, Charles Johnson is he's very experienced. He's had 20 pro fights, but he's fought a lot of the best guys in the world. I mean, he had a split decision loss to Brendan Royval, which I watched back, and he arguably won the fight. He was LFA champion. Um, defended that a few times. He's beat some guys in LFA who eventually got in the UFC. Um, he's fought some tough fights in the UFC. He's gone to decision most of the time in his fights. In the UFC, well, all of his fights, near enough all of his fights in the UFC, he's gone to decision. Um, which they've all been back and forth fights, so it gives him that experience of being in a fight. So he's got like good fight time experience, good cardio. He's well rounded. Yeah, he's a good fighter. But saying all that, skill wise, he's not on my level in any aspect of the game really. I think the only advantage he does have over me is experience. Um, with me I've only had 12 fights. He's had 20. And not only that, I've fought good opponents, but I've pretty much destroyed everyone. Um, I've fought world champions outside the UFC, the same as him, but I've destroyed them. And the guys I've fought in the UFC and won, I've destroyed them as well. So it's been like I've never really had um competitive fights, even though I've been fighting good opponents. That's the one advantage he has. Other than that, skill wise, he's not on my level anyway.
And when you're thinking about this fight and you're envisioning how it's gonna play out, how do you see yourself getting your hand raised? Because as you said, you've been running through people when you beat them, but it sounds like you want them rounds under your belt as well. So how do you think it's gonna happen?
But I don't think he can make it the distance with me. I feel like I can finish him in any aspect, whether that's striking or on the ground. I predict a finish really. I don't see it making it the 3 rounds. But saying that, he's never been finished before, but I'll be ready for 3 rounds. But I don't think he can take me to 3 rounds.
Yeah, and the UK MMA fans will be familiar with him just because he did fight in London and he fought Mohammed Mokaev. Is there anything you were able to take from watching that fight that you might be able to implement and get with them on fight night?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff you could take from every fight. Obviously, Makaev fought him, and Makaev actually kind of struggled. He dominated, as in like he won 30-27, but he struggled. He took him down. He couldn't hold him down. Charles Johnson kept popping straight back up. But he did show weaknesses in Charles Johnson's striking and grappling game because he was arguably getting outstruck by a guy who's got literally no striking. So um, he showed holes in his game in both aspects, which I'll be looking to exploit again. Um, but there's also other fighters who have exploited holes in his game, which is more my style as well. So, I mean, I've looked at most of his fights, and I see my paths to victory here.
Brilliant. And you mentioned earlier that you don't get the chance to fight at home a lot. There is a UFC Manchester card coming up in the summer. Are you confident that, with a good win here, you can turn around quickly and get a spot on that card?
Obviously, I'd like to fight in Manchester. God willing, I come out. Obviously, I'm going to beat the guy, but obviously, you could break your hand, you could break your foot. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I'll come out injury free and I can fight in July as well. That'd be great.
That'd be brilliant. And is there any particular opponent um, you would have in mind? I know the beef with Makhachev has been going on for a few years, but is that kind of gone for now and we'll see him at the top for the title?
I mean, I think I would have probably called for that, but I've heard I already got an opponent, so I don't really know. I ain't really got no one else on my mind at the moment. All I'm thinking about is Charles Johnson.
Absolutely. And a big talking point with this UFC Manchester card is the start time. I'm just wondering from a fighter's perspective, how would that suit you, fighting in the early hours of the morning?
Well, it's not great, is it? We'd rather be fighting at like a time where the UK fans, it's easier for them to stay up, but it's easier for the fighters and stuff. So, but I mean, I ain't really too much thinking about that at the moment. I'm just thinking towards Charles Johnson at the moment.
Absolutely. And I've got to ask you, this past weekend we had UFC 301. We had the title fight between Pantoja, the champion, and Steve Erceg. What did you see it and what did you make of it?
Funny enough, I don't stay up and watch the fights. I usually watch them the next day. And on Sunday, I had my flight to St. Louis, so I ain't actually watched the fight yet, so I can't really comment on it. So yeah, I can't really comment on it because I ain't watched it yet. I will watch it. I watch every card and I watch every fight. I watch everyone's fights, but I haven't watched it just yet because I was flying the next day and I ain't staying up till 4 a.m. to watch it when I'm in training camp.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. It was an entertaining back and forth battle, and when you look towards the top of the division at guys like Pantoja, how do you think you match up with them? I know it is a while in the future, but as a potential contender, you must be looking and think, I could take this guy. I've got the advantage here. What do you think when you look towards the top of the division?
Yeah, I think obviously like I can beat all these guys. Obviously, Brendan Royval is #1 in the world. Charles Johnson took him to a split decision, so this is a good fight to see where we're at. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but everyone's got different styles, and I think a lot of guys in the top 15 are only in the top 15 because they've been there longer. They've been in the division longer. Obviously, the UFC got rid of flyweight, then brought it back. And what the problem was is that they were signing guys, and whoever won 1 or 2 fights, they got in the rankings, but then they ain't fought in years, or fight once a year, like Summer Darji. I don't think he deserves to be in the rankings, and David Dvorak and these sort of people, that was in the rankings, and I don't think they deserved it. But yeah, so I think flyweight's a weird division where guys outside the top 15 are just as hard as guys in the top 10 or top 5. Like, I wouldn't say Charles Johnson is no better or no worse of a fighter than your Brendan Royval, or I wouldn't say, they ain't no better or no worse than these fighters, but I won't get the sort of credit I'd get for beating Brendan Royval than I would Charles Johnson. But
Yeah,
flyweight's like a weird. It is like a weird division because then you got some guys in the top 15 who they couldn't hang with guys that are outside there. So yeah, look, I'm looking at the top guys. Pantoja, like, I don't. He's good. He's just got a different style than Charles Johnson. But is he any more of a difficult fight than these guys? I don't know. I don't think so.
brilliant. Well, thanks for your time today, mate, and good luck with the rest of the week. You weight cutting and fighting. I can't wait to watch.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.